deep utters, cries, and a dark shadow falls over this troll. From the ashes of a once great fandom has risen a meme, an LOL that must be liked. We look to the airwaves for a vindicator, someone to strike fear in the dark basement of the parents who created him. The battle between fan and smart has begun. With a head on his shoulders stands the smart fan, a speaker of truths, with a voice of silence, and a radio show of justice. This is Ring Rust.
I suppose I have to amuse myself then. So, on to the it was Vengeance. The Night of Champions pay-per-view on the WWE Network, or on pay-per-view if you chose to spend a bunch more money. From the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, from this past Sunday, the 20th. First off, we have the pre-show match, which is a 6-man tag, which saw, and again, if you were listening last week, you know I like naming tag teams. The Sky Bandits, Neville, and Lucha Dragons. That's what I call them, because, what was I going to call them? The Gravity Bandits. It's like, okay, fine, I'll call them Sky Bandits, because absolutely no one was arguing with me, and I decided to take exception to no one arguing with me. Versus Wasteland, the Ascension, and Stardust. I like the idea, actually. Before I get into the result of it, I like the idea of the Ascension being the henchmen of Stardust. Because Stardust is doing the whole supervillain kind of thing, and the Ascension are kind of like minions. Not the little yellow fellows, but the actual, like, big gronky guys who are the muscle for supervillains. So, let's see how it works out. I assume it'll go a little while. It'll be kind of like the 3-man band, in that they'd said, okay, you three just go do something, and we'll do something more important over here. And then they just went and had fun. And they got over with the fans who enjoy watching people having fun. And anyway, I predicted the Sky Bandits would win, but as it turns out, Cosmic Wasteland came out on top of it. I never saw that match. I never actually saw the pre-show. I had an interesting night that night, actually. I got home, did I go somewhere that day? I don't remember if I went anywhere on Sunday, but I sat down to watch Raw about 3 or 4 hours before the show was supposed to start, so I had more than enough time. And then halfway through Raw, I must have fallen asleep because I'd just eaten like half a pizza and some chips and stuff and some garlic bread and whatnot. So I was getting in the mood to just enjoy myself. And I ended up falling asleep. And I woke up like probably 15, 20 minutes into the pay-per-view. It's like, oh no, I'm missing the pay-per-view. So I turned it on. And, actually not even that far, because it looks like, by the time I turned it on, it was about 10 minutes in. Because I woke up towards the end of the next match. So it's like, oh no. And then I turned it on, and anyway, I didn't really miss a whole lot. With the WWE Network, you can rewind stuff, even if you're watching. I don't know if you necessarily can do it while you're watching it live. I know you can do it with NXT, but then again, that's not done live. They tape it and then they just post it to the network, and you can rewind it back to the beginning if you come in like 15 minutes into NXT. You can rewind it back to the beginning. You might be able to do it with pay-per-views too. I don't know. But then you're out of sync with the other people who are complaining about it on the internet. And we can't have that. So, yeah. I predict, again, like I said, I predicted that the good guys would win, but the bad guys came out on top, so it's a victory for the supervillains, I guess. So, not complaining. I'll have to look up that match somewhere on the internet. I'm sure it's posted somewhere.
And I quote,
check out the TMZ of professional wrestling news. And I quote, on Facebook, all the latest news with some attitude, new and classic wrestling videos, and so much more.
Can I have your attention, please? I just received an email from the Raw general manager.
This is Fabio Mark Jabroni. You're listening to Ring Rust. Back to the Night of Champions review from this past Sunday night on the WWE Network. I'll just say that, because, well, you probably didn't get it on pay-per-view for various legal interpretations of the phrase "didn't get it on pay-per-view." The first match from the actual pay-per-view saw Kevin Owens defeating Ryback for the Intercontinental Championship. So that was a bit surprising. Like I said last week, actually a little bit of a diatribe. I don't think I was being overly negative. I don't think. I could be mistaken, but I don't think I was being overly negative when I said that, generally speaking, and I wasn't doing it as a criticism. It's like, how can you possibly think that Kevin Owens is going to win the title? No, it's not like that. I mean, just after observing wrestling since 1989, that's how long I've been a fan, it's always been I've always noticed that I've ended up noticing that people who challenge for a title don't win it the first time they challenge it, just generally speaking. Sure, you can name a handful of exceptions, but that's why they're referred to as exceptions. They aren't the rule, they're exceptions to the rule. They want to put someone over majorly. We want this person to be the star of the show, so we're going to give them the title when they first challenge for it. Or we're going to have this guy come out of the audience in Italy and have him challenge Umaga for the Intercontinental Championship and win it out of the blue. Or, we're going to have this other girl debut on Raw and have her win the women's title. We're going to have this guy join Edge in the Brood and have him win the junior heavyweight title. So, it's happened. It's just not something that normally happens. So, I believe I also said, though, I wouldn't be disappointed one way or the other, however this match went. I suspected, though, I did suspect Kevin Owens was going to win, but not win the title. He was going to, win by disqualification or something, or, basically make Ryback really mad and have him grab a chair. It's like, this guy keeps coming after me. I got to do something about it. So he actually snaps and grabs a chair and gets himself disqualified or something along those lines, which would have been made for an interesting story as well. It would have continued the feud into the next pay-per-view. I mean, I don't have a problem necessarily if this is the end of the feud either. It just wasn't much for a feud. It's just, I want your belt and LOL, I guess I got it. So, what do you want? Again, wasn't disappointed. Little surprised. I was somewhat surprised. Pleasantly, of course, surprised to see Kevin Owens win his first WWE title outside of NXT, and quite happy to see it. You were listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. So, back to the Night of Champions. Why do we keep forgetting the name of it? Well, the hashtag didn't help. Hashtag WWE NOC. It's like, why can't you just spell Night of Champions? Because we don't think our fans can spell champions. Or possibly night. I'm sure that's not officially, wink wink, nodding towards the microphone, what they actually think. So, back to Night of Champions review from this past Sunday on the WWE Network. The next match saw Dolph Ziggler defeating Alexander Rusev with Summer Rae in his corner. And actually looks like it was one of the longer matches. Actually, let's see how long the matches were. It looks like the John Cena-Seth Rollins match was still the longest. All in all, the matches weren't really all that long. Like, the longest match was just over 16 minutes. The average match somewhere around 10. Yeah, actually, most of the matches were just under 10. And some were 12, 13 minutes, so kind of interesting. Anyway, I'm sure it was deliberate in some way to make the matches only that long, but oh well. Not complaining, certainly. All the matches seemed to be a good length. They seemed to be well paced as well, so I don't think any of them really lagged. I did predict that Rusev was going to win that one. Not overly disappointed. I mean, still, Dolph Ziggler introduced some new ring gear, which the commentators can't seem to stop talking about. So he's got tights on now instead of trunks. So it's like, okay, I guess he didn't want to do his legs anymore. Anyway. Who am I to judge, I suppose? I've never really wrestled. Well, a handful of times I was in battle royals and 6-man tags and stuff, and ref, he pulled my hair. The guy's bald. What's he talking about? I'm getting heat. Shh. You're stealing my thunder. So, yeah. Not disappointed in the slightest that Dolph Ziggler, one of my favorites, ended up coming on top. That's why Seeing that he's like someone who's there probably basically he can be there as long as he wants to be there, as long as he keeps, doing his job the way he's been doing it. He can work there as long as he wants. I mean, being in the main event isn't necessarily all it's cracked up to be it's not for everybody. It's for John Cena, sure. It's for Seth Rollins. It's for Roman Reigns. For a lot of those guys. They aim to be in the main event. And there are some people who say, I'll just do the whole long run thing. I'll just go for the long run. If you want to push me every now and then, that's great. That's super. Give me something to look forward to. And then other than that, I'll just enjoy the ride. I'll join Zack Ryder at the catering table. And, we can reminisce about when we were feuding that one time 5 or so years ago. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. This is Fabo Mark Jabroni. You are listening to Ring Rust. Next up, from the Night of Champions preview from this past Sunday on the WWE Network, which if you don't have, you're a loser of some kind. Unless you're British and it comes with your cable package. Anyway, so next up we have the Tag Team Championship match. The Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, defeated the New Day of Big E and Kofi Kingston, with Xavier Woods very vocally in their corner. But it was by disqualification, so they didn't win the titles. So, and now they have hashtag Save the Tables. What did I predict? I predicted that the New Day would win. In actuality, I guess it depends on what your definition of win is. Like, did they retain the titles? Yes. Did they win the match? No. So, I got it down that the New Day would win, but I didn't really specify, though. I didn't really quantify that I thought they were going to, one way or the other, retain the titles, which probably was something I normally do, actually. It's like they're fighting on the side of Snidely Whiplash, so they're probably going to cheat to win. But I didn't actually specify, oddly enough, I didn't specify that. So I'll put down that, no, I did, in fact, not get it right. So that means I had got more wrong than right. I got 3 right, and with that one I got 5 wrong. I'm not really hurting or anything. It doesn't really bother me one way or the other. You'll never see me cry. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Before I go into the next match, an apology. Or maybe during going into the next match. Because, as per the thing where I kept saying last week that, the person who's challenging for a belt for the first time usually doesn't win it, and I predicted that Charlotte wouldn't win the Divas title for precisely that reason. But then I realized, it's like, wait a minute, the whole reason this match is happening is because she won a title match on Raw, but she pinned the wrong Bella, so then they made it for Night of Champions. So, yeah, I messed up there. I misremembered that she had already had a match, and therefore that particular rule didn't really fit with it. But, I still kind of didn't predict her winning this early. Maybe the next pay-per-view or the pay-per-view after, if they had feuded for a while. And the fact that she won the Divas title so soon after Nikki Bella celebrated being the longest reigning Divas champion since AJ Lee makes everyone on the internet all angry and stuff, and said, well, obviously it was just so that she could beat AJ Lee. Boo. I'm never watching this company again. See you next week. Radio shrug. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. This is Fabo Mark Jabroni. You are listening to Ring Rust. Now back to the Night of Champions review from this past Sunday on the WWE Network, or other less legal means, unless of course you watched it on pay-per-view. Actually paid like $50 or $60 to watch it, as opposed to, how much is it, Michael? $9.99. Yes, $9.99 if you're in the U.S., and $11 or $12 or however much more dollars if you're getting pretty much any other part of the world, and you're just getting what's streaming. You don't get any of the archives, so kind of not really worth. Well, I guess it depends on whether or not you consider it worth it for just the pay-per-views or just watch it streaming or whatever. So, I don't know. It depends on what you consider to be worth it, I guess. Who am I to judge? So, the next match, we got 3 matches left. So, how many am I going to get before the 3-way dance-off? I imagine I'll get 2 at least, depending on how much I talk about those matches. So, next up, we have another 6-man tag. The team that I forgot to name last week, so I just called them Monkey Wrench because, they needed to fix something, and, we're going to fix your little red wagon. And, well, actually, I probably could see Dean Ambrose saying something along those lines. But anyway, they were trying to throw a monkey wrench into plans of the Wyatt family, or they were trying to fix the Shield since they don't have their architect anymore, or I don't know. And so that was the team that was to be announced, member that was to be announced. I'll mention who it was now momentarily, because I was off on that as well. And architect, who are Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, because I like naming tag teams, I like naming 6-man tags. So anyway, architect because there's a song called Architect by a local metal band, The Combine, and Seth Rollins was the architect of the Shield. Now they don't have an architect, so they need to use an architect, and I'm going to make this work, goddammit. And needless to say, I hope they come up with an official tag team name at some point. Or they stop teaming, just to make it easier on me. And they got the whole world in their hands. Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family of Luke Harper and Braun Strowman. God, I got to get used to that guy's name. Anyway, and his face, that's the least of which. But anyway, so I predicted that the good guys would come out on top of that one, and of course I was wrong. And also predicted that, I didn't predict who would ultimately end up being in it. I predicted, jokingly, I predicted Sho Funaki, because Sho Funaki's my answer to pretty much anything, any question. I wonder who it's going to be, Sho Funaki. What? Okay then. And then they go back and talking seriously about something. My semi-serious prediction was Fit Finlay, because, he likes to fight, and Roman Reigns likes to fight, and Dean Ambrose likes to fight, and they all like to fight, probably about as much. But it'll be a nice, interesting competition to see who wants to fight more. It would have been interesting if they had said, let's see, you want to be that violent? Well, then I'll be this violent. Oh, you want to be that violent to him? Well, we'll see what I do to this guy. So who actually showed up was Chris Jericho. Not unpleasant in and of itself. He's one of my, as Booker T might say, he's in my fave fives. He's probably my number 1, maybe number 2 favorite wrestler. I wasn't disappointed, certainly, to see him show up, but it's like, really? Chris Jericho? Okay, that's fantastic. Don't know why. I guess he just wanted to come back. He wanted to work against Bray Wyatt again. He wanted to work with Dean Ambrose or Roman Reigns, or I don't know. It wasn't a bad match, certainly. It was 13 minutes, so they gave it a good amount of time. They seemed to give all the matches a good amount of time. I'll have to add this up to see how much of the actual 3-hour pay-per-view was actually was actual wrestling. Well, I don't have to, but I might anyway. So you're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Gerbranology TV. And it's used by Alex Riley. Not so much anymore, because he doesn't wrestle, really. He just does commentary, but, oh well, it's good on him. He's doing relatively well, I guess. He wanted to live his dream, and he's kind of still living his dream, I suppose. He's doing better than you are, let's just say. Before you get too much into complaining about, Alex Riley, what has he done more than you? No, shut up, more than you. This is Fabio Marcheroni. You're listening to Ring Rust. No, shut up, more than you. So back to the WWE Night of Champions review from this past Sunday. So we got 2 matches left. John Cena defeated Seth Rollins for the United States Championship. I did see John Cena winning. I don't remember if I specified whether or not he'd win the title. Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I figured, either it's going to be Seth Rollins is going to go in there and say, no, I'm retaining this belt too, so basically goes and low blows John Cena right away, and he retains the title, but he loses the match. Or, he actually gets out-wrestled by John Cena, as such as all you internet trolls would be inclined to disagree with that sentiment. John Cena wrestling. Yeah, he's in WWE, which means he knows how to wrestle. Shut up. He's in WWE, which means he knows how to wrestle. Name 20 people who have been in WWE who didn't know how to wrestle. Actually, didn't know how to wrestle. Not internet fan, didn't know how to wrestle. Actually, didn't know how to wrestle. Name 20. I'll wait. Well, I'll continue doing my show, but I'll wait for you to get back to me. Which you won't, of course. So, John Cena, that's the longest match of the show, just over 16 minutes, so it was a decent enough match. I don't really remember too much about it. I do remember liking it, though, so it was a fun match. It was fun to watch, and yeah, so not really a whole lot to say about it, is there? Didn't quite play out the way, like I said, it didn't quite play out the way I expected it might, or hoped it might anyway, but, wasn't really disappointed. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. It's the last match of Night of Champions from this past Sunday from the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Not Planet Houston, like I keep saying last week. Anyway, so Seth Rollins defeated Sting to retain his WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I didn't really expect Sting to win the title. Sting might have won, or, I could have seen him win. I mean, I did predict that Seth Rollins would win, but I could have seen it go any number of ways, and I mostly pictured Sting wanting to teach Seth Rollins a lesson. And according to Raw this week, after Night of Champions, I don't think it took. If that was his goal, I don't think it took. So, anyway, that's unfortunate. If that's what he was setting out to do. I don't know that he was, I don't know that he wasn't. So, either way though, Seth Rollins still retained his title, and Sting ended up getting hurt, and all the internet trolls said, "Oh, you can't even be trusted to keep the guy safe. That's your job. That's your job, you gay porn starring person who I say it happened, so obviously it happened." So, what?
Like me on Facebook, tinyurl.com/ringrust. Follow me on Twitter @MarkJabroni, and subscribe to Jabronology TV, youtube.com/fanboymarkjabroni. Facebook. Track all the news that's right on the mark, from around ringside to the latest concerts. See you at the shows. Later days.
This is 93.5 CHMR-FM.